Welcome back to another episode of Sorry for the Wait, folks. We have another podcast plug for our sponsor today.
Woo woo.
Today's episode is sponsored by a Liv Texera production. Now, Liv is someone that I went to high school with. You have not met Liv.
Yeah, no, I haven't.
But I hope you get to meet her because Liv is extremely driven. She was in high school, and it still holds true today. And so a Liv Texera production is it's an inspirational and like empowering kind of podcast, which I think is really cool because of what we're on that route too. And so like Liv's podcast talks all about self-awareness, goal achievement, and really just kind of like establishing like an individualized blueprint.
Ooh, I could definitely use that.
In one of her recent episodes, she talked about like getting to the root of your problems, which I thought was so topical for what we had talked about in the past of like finding the root of why we've been as big as houses, you know? And so Liv,
the answers are never anything I'm looking for, but
exactly.
I'm glad I found them.
And Liv does a really great job, and she's super inspirational, and she's crushing it right now. She's a results coach who helps people like with their professional goals and their personal goals, like with respects to like interpersonal relationships, which is really great.
Okay.
And so
cool.
I'm really excited like to listen to more of Liv. Obviously, she's been at this for a little bit. And so we hope you all go check her out on Apple and Spotify. It's a Liv Texera production. And if you are looking to get a results coach, you can slide right into her Instagram DMs, she said, as per her. And you can hit her up for some coaching. But guess what, folks? This is Sorry for the Wait. Here we go. Fired up. Ready to go. Welcome to the show, folks. This is Sorry for the Wait, a weight loss podcast for regular people by regular people. I am your host, Seth.
And I am your host, Strawberry.
And here we go. Big week, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, this is actually something that I really wanted to get off my chest because it's actually super recent because it pertains to something we did last night. Last night, what movie did we watch?
The Hunger Games Catching Fire.
Right. So second movie of 4, Hunger Games. Highly recommend. If you haven't gotten around to it yet, not sure really what you're doing. But we're in a rewatch right now.
Yeah.
And because we love hunger and we like games.
I actually don't like hunger, and I really think that's one of my core problems.
Yeah, I know that is a problem. Yeah, you're right. You probably did say that a little bit better. But here's the thing. There's a scene, right? There's a scene in Catching Fire.
Okay.
Where they're on their victory tour, Katniss and
I know exactly
Katniss
what
and
you're
Peeta. Yeah. As soon as we saw this scene again, I was like, oh yeah, we got to talk about this shit. So there's a scene where they're at the presidential palace for like the last night of their victory tour. And Peeta and Katniss are walking through the crowd, mingling, and they get to these two people who are like, you have to try these. And it just looks like a plate of like multicolored macaroons. And Peeta goes, I don't think I could eat another thing. And this woman presents this like elixir almost that goes, drink this. And they're like, well, what does it do? And they're like, it makes you sick, so therefore you can eat more. And then the guy goes, how else are you going to try everything?
It's just such a dystopian,
But you know what's so kind of messed up about it? We saw that scene. I think most people saw that scene and they were like, oh, geez, like that's such a weird thing. I think you and I looked at that scene and go, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, I mean,
like I don't think we really batted an eye at that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of those things, especially for the longest time when all I wanted was the secret and didn't really care about like how. I just wanted to get skinny. Like, you know what? Something where I can eat as much as I want without having to gain weight. That would have been.
Yeah, it was. It was just so odd to me that they presented that, and I didn't have much of a reaction to it. I was like, yeah, that checks out. I think we've been there where we were like, oh, I'm so full. I wish I could just create more hunger for myself.
Yeah.
And then not even 7 seconds after that, they're like, people are starving in District 12 and they're trying to throw up their food. And I was like, oh, there's a commentary.
Yeah, no. And I thought that was like the meaningful part of it was kind of like seeing, I guess I almost think of it as maybe a comment on like our culture in general, how like so many people like are chasing like these very like high-end like luxury things like while other people
also
struggle. Let's get away from the class war for a second.
But just like while commenting on just gluttony, and we were like, yeah, I see it. I get it. I've been there. But you know, I mean, it's been a weird week. You know, it's been a different week. But how's your week been?
My week's been pretty good. Getting to the end of my school year, so I'm almost at the summer vacation.
Yeah, you're right there.
I'm right there. But yeah, I'm now down 56 pounds
Woo!
total.
5'6".
And I had mentioned last week that I was gonna be like looking into some things I could do to kind of jumpstart myself again because I've been feeling like I've been plateauing.
Yeah.
And so I actually found a couple of things that I'm not necessarily going to try all of them, but a couple of things.
Just having options.
Yeah, a couple of things to look on. One of them was cutting back on carbs and increasing your protein.
Okay.
Apparently, protein boosts your metabolic rate better than carbs or fats, which I guess makes sense.
Interesting.
More fiber, soluble fiber specifically, apparently is good, which is why I should probably start eating vegetables.
Right.
I'm an adult.
Yeah, you're an adult. You're a big boy.
And then increase exercise frequency or intensity. I mean,
so
that's not something I'm looking forward to, but that is something
that is definitely
am
part
about to start focusing on now that I have all this free time. And then the one that I'm really not sure about, intermittent fasting.
Interesting. And you know what? I think it's weird for us to even comment on it because, like, we're not experts,
right?
And so many people talk about.
I literally
fasting.
Googled like how to overcome a plateau in weight loss, and like this literally was just the first article that came up.
Yeah, and it was funny. 2 out of those 3 options were very like biological, like looking behind the scenes, like kind of behind the curtain to kind of see what can make this tick a little bit. But intermittent fasting, it's so funny. I hear so many people talk about it, and like in theory, like, yeah, I get it when it's explained to me, but I also just wonder, like, because our biggest problem is always sustainability.
Yeah. It doesn't strike me as very sustainable. And at least for me, like, I know myself, I have a hard time fasting for 6 hours.
Yeah.
Like I going an afternoon without a snack in the middle is a challenge for me.
But I think
so the idea of going like, I don't even know how many hours most people use with intermittent fasting, but the article said like anywhere from like 8 to 24.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, I've heard so many different weird stretches of that have been like, I just look at that and I go, I don't know how you can sustain that. But I mean, but again, I think it's good to look into different options just to maybe be like, okay, well, maybe I try it and maybe something clicks.
Yeah, and you know what? If there are any intermittent, oh my God, what a terrible word. If there are any intermittent fasters out there who would like to
who would like to chime in.
Yeah, throw us some suggestions on how to do it right.
Yeah, but that's good. 56 though, man. I mean, because you look incredible. Like you do.
Oh,
like,
stop.
I'm not joking. Yeah, I'll keep flattering you. Yeah, you big lush. But it's kind of nuts. I mean, because you're going slow and steady, and I think that you haven't felt overwhelmed as much as you have in the past when you've done something like this, which is considerably noticeable.
It also definitely helps too that, I mean, it just feels like I have some momentum.
Yeah.
You know, which is something that I've always used to describe myself when I'm rolling down a hill, never with losing weight.
Yeah, but hey, good for you, man. 56, that's awesome.
Thanks. So what are you up to? How's your weight loss going?
Milestone episode, folks. I know, a big one. I am now at 100.5 pounds lost.
Woo!
Yeah, I know. It was I'm not going to lie. When I got on the scale and I saw like 250 even, I was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
like
you did it.
Yeah, there and back again. Like I'm Bilbo goddamn Baggins, man. Like, because this is my second time like losing 100 pounds. Like, and
does it feel better than the first?
Yeah, it definitely does, man. I'll tell you what. But remember Drake's song "Congratulations"?
Yeah.
Spend it all once if I could get rich twice. Like that's a line in that song, and I was like, I think that applies here. Like, yeah. I did spend it all once, and now I'm trying to get rich twice. But you know what's funny is I hit that number. I felt really, really good.
You should feel good.
Yeah,
feel proud.
It was a big, like, I kind of let out like this big sigh of relief. Not that I've been worrying about the number as much, but it was just cool to see that. Because you know what's funny? Since we started the show, this was brought to my attention in a group text. We didn't mention like what our starting weights were.
Oh,
which is so funny because when we started the show, we were already well into our journeys, but I started at 350.5.
Yeah, and I started at 314 pounds.
Wow. So yeah, so we were both in the threes. I mean, we were pushing 3 bills, man. I was pushing.
Yeah, views from the threes.
Yeah, exactly. And so to be at 350 and a half and then to look at 250 on the scale, man, it was wild. And I mean, my biggest obvious update, like change of pace, is that I'm back in the office now.
Yeah.
And being back in the office,
how does that mess with your rhythm?
It definitely does. It's been like kind of a rough week, I'll be honest, like so far, because like I weigh in, you know what I mean? Like not rough in the sense of like obviously results, but just rough in the sense of like whenever your routine gets shaken to the core, you're just trying to find your footing.
Right.
Yeah. Like I almost imagine it like you're just on a balance board and like somebody just came and kind of like punched you in the calf. and you're fine. You're okay. But you're just trying to find like kind of, okay, well, how do I regain my balance and make sure that I'm good?
Right.
And that's kind of what this week has really been.
Do you find that it's easier or harder being at the office versus being home? Like when it comes to the
I don't necessarily think of it as easy and hard, because I think it's apples to oranges. Like you just kind of, whenever you're thrown into a different environment, like I knew how to go to work on the shakes because I was doing that from January to March. You know what I mean? So like I kind of tried to like readapt myself back into that mindset,
right,
and just making sure like I definitely was a little inconsistent with like the times I was drinking my shakes, because like you're caught up in the office, and like this was the first time I had seen some of my coworkers since like 60 pounds ago,
right,
or maybe 50 pounds ago. And so
wow,
that was super dope. Like don't get me wrong, it was awesome to see everybody, and like no matter who you are, you love hearing like people talk greatly like about your progress and stuff, and it's great. But I've been trying to do a lot of work up in my mind to make sure that it's like
it doesn't go to your head.
Yeah, don't feed your ego. And I don't think that I have much of an issue with that, but in terms of like I'm gonna get a lot more conceited, like I don't think that's gonna happen. But at the same time, I think the issue is complacency. Like when people start telling you like, oh my God, you look incredible, you look like a whole new person, it feels really good, but it can put you in this kind of place of being like, well, maybe I can kind of lay off the gas a little bit.
Yeah.
But I still have a lot of work to do, and like I'm happy to do it. And so it's just been like kind of a nice kind of re-entry in the sense of like it was going to happen sometime, so I'd rather have it happen sooner so that I can kind of get back. And the one more thing about this week is feedback. So since we started the show, right, we have had so many people reach out to us, like we said last episode. But obviously I've been hearing from a ton of people ask me about just like, or just try and give me feedback or advice or whatever on the transitioning for when I go from shakes to food.
Right.
Because like everybody wants to kind of give their take. And in the past, I would like, if someone wanted to do that, like if I heard that over and over and over again, I would immediately turn my mind off, because I was just like, I can't hear any other thing except for what I'm doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I'm like, what I'm doing works. I'm going to figure it out. You cannot do this alone. You can't. Like you cannot do this kind of journey alone. And so my whole thing is to consume every piece of feedback, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's from the most qualified friend or person you have or know, or the least.
What's your favorite feedback you've gotten so far?
Well, I think probably my favorite piece is just this overarching idea of it's a marathon, not a sprint. You know what I mean? And just trying to make sure that like your mind is right. Like your mind has to be right. Like if your mind is trying to tell you something about like a big meal that you're tempted to eat, and your mind is sort of kind of twitching with you a little bit, like that's a good thing. It's a good thing that your mind's doing that, because it's trying to tell you something. And those kind of things you can slip up more easily if you're just trying to sprint through the rest of your life.
Right.
Like you got to slow down.
Yeah, you
like,
gotta enjoy the everyday things. You
Right.
gotta stop and smell the roses.
And the thing is with feedback is that by consuming every piece of feedback, you're at least opening yourself up to another angle that you might not have thought of. And so if someone brings up something like, well, have you thought about like what this might entail? And maybe that's something that I haven't covered yet. And I think that will keep going. But any type of feedback that you get, you don't have to absorb it all, but it's good to at least just hear it. And then see if like, okay, well, that's actually a really good point that I hadn't talked about. And so that's definitely been a big part of the week, and it's been fun. It's been fun to hear it, and it's been fun to hear from people about it.
Yeah.
You know, but you know what also is fun?
Craving of the week.
Yeah, craving of the week is always fun, dude.
Oh, I love craving of the week.
So hit me. What do you got this week? What are you
right.
craving in that big old dome of yours?
So I want a giant Pez dispenser. Now you're giving me a weird look.
I
here,
am giving you a weird look. Okay.
I want this Pez dispenser to not be filled with those little Pez tablets.
Okay.
I want it to have all the Oreos.
Interesting. Oh my God, this is so funny.
All the different varieties of Oreos. A couple weeks ago, I did have a bite of a carrot cake Oreo for the first time. And it might have been the best thing I've ever eaten.
Carrot cake Oreo. So does it go? So what's the cookie?
So the cookie is like the vanilla like Oreo cookie. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. Yep. I know what you're talking about.
And then I mean I don't know. I didn't make it, but it tastes like carrot cake.
Okay.
I
didn't know if it. Yeah, I didn't know if it maybe like might be like a different type of cookie, and then like obviously.
I think it was the same. It might have some sort of like flavor to it.
Top three Oreos, like
All
your
right.
top 3 versions. Go.
Top 3. Okay, so carrot cake, birthday cake, and red velvet.
Interesting. Okay. Mega stuffed.
Oh, those are so good.
Mega stuffed. I like the white Oreos. Like I like the.
I'm okay with them.
Yeah, I like the white Oreos, and I like fudge covered Oreos.
Have you ever tried the chocolate peanut butter pie Oreos?
I have not, and I'm glad that I haven't, because then it would be.
I was
game
looking
over.
at all of the different flavors of Oreos to like just see which ones, and I was like, ooh, this one's got Seth's name written all over it.
Yeah, that does sound heavenly.
Now, do you want to know what Oreos I definitely want nowhere near this Pez dispenser?
What?
If it's a lemon flavor?
Yeah, get out of here.
Get out.
Get out.
I want to know what was going on in the boardroom at the Oreo company when they decided to make this like attempt.
See, when I look at those flavors, I think of the whole marketing team, or like the R&D, like the like product development team, sitting around a table, and they're just like, we got nothing. Anybody, no bad ideas. And then the intern comes in. Lemon. And then the intern comes in with all 14 coffees for them, getting unpaid, and he's unpaid, and he's just having a shit week, and he just goes, why don't you fucking try lemon? And they're just like, all right, let's go. Let's get in the lab, folks.
I almost feel like it was a flavor that should have been released for April Fools, but then discontinued immediately.
And then put into one of Elon Musk's rockets and sent to the sun. That's actually what I think should happen to all the lemon Oreos.
Yeah. So what's your craving of the week?
We're gonna run into a first here for craving of the week.
No, you didn't.
I'm not joking. Like I didn't want to like lose my poker face when you said Oreos, because I was like, oh shit. But like I have to ride with it, because you know what? It's an Oreo episode now.
Yeah.
So
this episode is brought to you by
it's
Oreos.
brought to you by Oreos. Please don't sue us. Here we go. Captain America's shield, but it's an Oreo.
Oh, okay.
and then of course, like I had this in my mind, because like just the idea of having like an Oreo, but with Cap's straps that hold on to
attach it to your arm,
and I
so
can
you just walk
tighten that
around
up.
with
So
it.
it's almost like I have an oversized watch on, I guess. But then my mind started to race, and I was like, you know what? Like maybe this is a whole new hero. Maybe it's Oreoman, not Oreo Man. It's Oreoman. So that way, because like whenever my enemies like see the Oreo shield, it's a bad omen. And
Oreo. Oh,
yeah, like a little play
so
on
some
like
wordplay
so like
there.
Oreoman, and so obviously the weaknesses for Oreoman are milk, like which is why like my arch nemesis is Dr. Moo, and he's a British cow.
Oh, you went all in on this one.
It's like
I like
yeah,
this.
Dr. Moo, and he's had like 39 seasons of his like enemy TV show, but and just like I would just kind of have to block the Oreo, because here's the thing about Oreos, Barry, and I don't know if this is necessarily a hot take, but I can't really eat dry Oreos I can't have multiple dry Oreos, if that makes sense. I have to have milk. I have to have that.
Interesting.
I have to have that sweet moo juice, like with all my Oreos.
See, I tend to not be like a milk dunker when it comes to Oreos, at least not excessively.
Really?
Well, because I feel like every time I do it, maybe it's just like what I'm putting the milk in. Like I shouldn't use those kinds of glasses, but I feel like it reaches the point where the milk's too far down to dunk anymore without getting your whole hand in there. And I just kind of get frustrated.
So that's
and
where
give
you
up.
do the hack, though. Did you ever learn the hack?
What's the hack?
Oh, folks. I mean, I'm sure a lot of folks, a lot
I'm
of our
sound
listeners
like such
have
an
heard-
uncultured.
No. I don't think so, because like this. I mean, you take a fork.
Okay.
You stick the middle of the Oreo on said
Okay,
fork.
so it goes like in between.
Exactly. And then you're dunking. You look like an idiot when you do it, but guess what, dog? Who's eating Oreos and milk in front of a big amount of people?
See,
that's the shit I eat in my room at 2 a.m. on a Thursday by myself.
See, here's where our, I guess, Oreo eating habits differ is I am an architect. I pull apart the Oreos ever so gently and make quadruple stuffed.
Wow.
And I say quadruple because I mean like double stuff.
Yeah, no, I know
like
what
two
you
double
mean.
stuff is.
So instead of buying the double stuffed Oreos, you just kind of manufacture your own.
And you know what? Honestly, the only time that's ever backfired for me was with the mega stuff ones, because when you take 2 mega stuff Oreos and smush them together, then you have a problem. That's too much cream.
Yeah, you need help. You need help with that one. But you know what? I think we've been there. And hey, sorry for the wait. Is a no judgment zone.
Yeah, eat
baby.
all the Oreos you want.
And so that's so funny. I'm glad that we could at least save that a little bit, because you know what? Who doesn't love those Oreos, man? With some Sweet Moo juice and you with a Pez dispenser, like popping pills, but you're popping O's, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
But you know what? That's another craving of the week. And folks, you know, we're still looking for our inaugural submission craving of the week. So
tell us your craving.
Yeah, so tell us your craving of the week. SFTW submissions at gmail.com. But hey, do you want to do a breaded and butter?
I would love some breaded and butter.
I'm really glad that you do, because this one was sent in to a listener, from a listener. This one
it wasn't sent in to a listener?
Yeah, no, it wasn't sent in to a listener. That would be weird because we'd never know about it. But so this was sent from a listener, and they signed the email Peter Parker. And you know what? Hey, that's what the email is for. If you don't want to maybe this person's name really is Peter Parker. Maybe Spider-Man did email us.
Maybe.
But you know what? This is another one from the subreddit Am I the Asshole? And
I feel like we always pick that subreddit.
I
don't know what it is.
It's a really popular one, and you know what? I think we just run with it until
I just love going through and judging people.
So the title of this Ada is, Am I the asshole for telling a girl her pictures on Hinge were misleading after we met?
Oof.
Okay, I'm going to try and read through the whole one, okay? I talked to this girl from Hinge who looked pretty in her pictures, and we hit it off almost immediately. She sent a few Snapchats, and I could tell she was slightly chubbier than her pictures, but didn't look too far off. After a few days of talking, we met up for drinks at a restaurant. As soon as I saw her, I immediately felt disappointed, as she looked nothing, all caps, like her pictures, which I later found out were from 3 years ago. I did my best to have fun at the date, regardless of the fact that I wasn't attracted physically to her whatsoever. The date went pretty well, but the next day I sent her a text message saying it wasn't going to work out and that her pictures were misleading. I apologized and wished her good luck. My friends think I'm the asshole for the misleading part, since she likely already knows she's much bigger than she was in her pictures. I felt sort of catfished, and while I wouldn't call her an asshole, I think what she's doing is wrong. Barry?
Ooh,
you want to talk about a roller coaster, brother.
This is a tough one.
This one, I'm telling you, this was such a roller coaster of emotions for me. Like, because starting out, you know, like, I kind of had this guy in the lead. You know, I don't think she's an asshole. You know what I mean? And we'll get to that. But on the surface, at first, I was like, no, he had fun on the date, you know? And then when we get to the text part where he says it's not going to work out, I'm like, oh, well, that's a good thing. You're at least letting her know.
Right. But you didn't have to say anything about her
You
pictures.
didn't have to say anything about the pictures misleading, right? And so then I switched to, that's kind of that's kind of an asshole move.
Yeah, I feel like you know, he had a great time with her. It sounds to me like the only reason he like wasn't interested in seeing her again was because she had put on weight. And like, I get you're not attracted to who you're not attracted to, and he shouldn't be shamed for not feeling attraction.
Yeah, no, because physical attraction's a thing.
You can't choose that.
Yeah.
But if that's the reason, then you know what? Don't give a reason.
Right, exactly. Just say it's not going to work out.
Yeah, just say like sorry. Like literally any other excuse.
All you had to say,
been gentler.
Yeah, all you had to say was just like, look, I had a good time, but maybe you just say like, I'm not looking for anything serious. Like, I'm just trying to like, and we had a great time.
Or be an adult and ignore it.
Yeah. No,
block her on everything.
Never ghost.
That's how adult people deal with relationships, Seth.
So right now, we would say that kind of a dick, but I'm not going to go full-blown asshole, right?
No, but I do want to investigate the girl.
Actually, before we do that, though.
Okay.
So right now, we're at this sort of like median line. What if I told you that this listener knows the person who posted it and sent in insider information?
Oh, wait a second.
More backstory.
More backstory.
More backstory than is provided on Reddit because
the person who made that Reddit post.
The listener is directly linked to this situation.
Wow.
This person is one of the friends that thinks he's an asshole. The new information is that this poster, this original poster, declined to include that he also has pictures from multiple years ago on his dating profile.
Oh,
Barry!
I love it.
When I love it. I love it.
Oh my
when
God.
I tell you that after getting that sweet, salty piece of information,
all right, now he's 100%
I went
the
full
asshole.
send a hole. Dude, you know what this turned into, though? She has old pictures. He has old pictures. It's the classic pointing Spider-Man meme. It's Spider-Man. Which
Thank
is
you,
so,
Peter Parker,
thank
for
you,
submitting
Peter Parker. And like I see sign from Peter Parker and I see Spider-Man pointing meme. Then I'm just like, you have no authority to send like your pictures of misleading, dog. Like none. You have no leg to stand on whatsoever.
I hope she claps back at him over that. Like, oh, thanks. Yours are too.
That's exactly like what I thought. I was like, I hope that she went back at him, but like probably not. And we won't get that piece of information. But therefore, I was just like, yeah. You know, I just don't think that you're going to win this one, pal. But he's winning on Reddit.
Well, yeah, because he didn't include the most asshole-ish part.
Right, exactly, dude. But you said you wanted to go into the girl, like the backstory of the girl.
Well, and I guess him too now, because like
Right.
I'm just like this idea of putting up old photos. And I feel like a lot of times people look at it and they come at it from the angle of like, oh, they're trying to be misleading. They're purposely trying to be misleading. Like, and I think there's a lot of instant judgment on that. I mean, first, how do you feel about that?
See, here's the thing is it's like we talked about on double-sized dating, right? You're never going to pick shitty photos of yourself. And look, I think it's even harder to change those photos. It was very, very hard for me to change those photos.
Once you get bigger.
Because when I had my skinny photos up, I felt like $1 million, man. Like, and I was like, at that time, like in between relationships and stuff, like I was getting matches. I was having conversations. Like when you have to go back and you're essentially downgrading yourself, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, because you're just looking at these photos of you knowing that you're not in that shape anymore. And there's a weird mind game going on there of like, oh man, do I really need to go find photos of me that I hated all this time, or take new photos of me that I know I'm not going to like, and then put them up and then hope somebody.
That's the part that kind of gets to me, because one of the things, I mean, over the last couple of years, the amount of photos that I have of myself are just very minimal.
Yeah, you don't like to, you haven't liked taking photos for a while.
And a big part of that, you know, like, look, I'm not going to lie, if I was a 10 out of 10, you know, hottie, I would immediately be taking pictures everywhere.
You have 300 selfies in a day. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, but you know, you don't. A lot of people when they gain a lot of weight, or even if they just are overweight, they don't want to be taking lots of pictures of themselves, and so that means that when it comes to something like Tinder or Hinge or something that you need to have photos of yourself, you got to be going back like weeks, months, like sometimes. A long time to find anything. Or the other option is to take a bunch of shitty selfies in bad lighting.
Right.
Because, like, let's be honest, if you open up Tinder and you see a profile that's all selfies, you're probably not going to swipe right.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. You kind of go more for like the candids or like the
you want a variety of it.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't think anyone's an asshole for keeping old photos up, because I know that roadblock.
Well, I still have a bunch of old photos up, but that's because other than, you know, me losing the weight, I've been pretty consistently sized for a long time.
Right,
so.
but your photo shoot's going to be so dope when we do Macaroni fans. But here's the
Does
thing.
that go on Tinder?
Yeah.
I got to figure
that out. Oh, that
out.
absolutely. Dude, Macaroni fans is going to be my entire Tinder. I don't know. You're nuts if you don't think that's happening. But I just think that this dude is definitely like full send into asshole city for for kind of just it's not
Being a hypocrite.
right. Exactly. You're an ass. Like it's kind of a hypocritical kind of thing there.
Yeah,
And
I was at like he was like a little bit of an asshole, and
Right.
then once you gave me that information, I was like, no,
dude,
full send.
the inside info makes it pointing Spider-Man meme like that is just it's classic. So thank you to I guess anonymous Peter Parker, your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for submitting that email. And that's so percentage wise, are we going 100? Nothing's 100%, so I'm gonna go 99.
I'm gonna go 99.1.
Okay, hey, there you go. I like that. So you know what? Another breaded and butter in the books. And folks, again, if you see anything coming across Reddit, send it our way.
And it doesn't have to be Reddit. You can send
Yeah,
us
no,
anything
you know
funny
what?
that you want to give us a
Yahoo
reaction to.
Answers,
Yeah, we're gonna still call it breaded and butter for
Of
the
course.
branding, but
Yeah, come on, that's for the brand.
but I think we're ready to head into our main topic today, which is called Our Fat Awakening.
Fat awakening.
And I'm actually going to turn it over to you because this was another submission.
This is a submission-filled episode.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. I'm so thrilled that people have been submitting. It makes me so happy, and we hope that people keep doing it. And so this submission comes from somebody that I grew up with. Yeah, a good friend of mine named Miles. And Miles and I.
Is this another like Spider-Man reference?
No,
like
no, it's not Miles Morales.
I was gonna say we gotta stop with that.
No, it's not. Miles and I actually grew up together, and Miles sent an incredible email, and it sparked the idea for our main topic today. And so thank you, Miles, and we really, really appreciate it. So from Miles, directly from his email, hearing you guys discuss camp really made me think about how I didn't really have my, quote, fat awakening until much later. I knew I was overweight throughout high school and just didn't care and didn't really ever think about it. College was when I realized I probably shouldn't be this big, but it wasn't until after graduation that I decided I wanted to change. Knowing that you guys were so young and seeing being overweight as a problem, I can only imagine the stress that puts on you. That's something I never had to deal with.
Wow.
So that's the first part of what I want to read. To not have to deal with that as a kid,
I mean, lucky you.
that's a dream. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I'll keep going. The first time I weighed myself after college, and probably a month or so into my weight loss journey, I was at 275. I was probably pushing 300 at some point, but I never really felt that big. It's been a 5-year journey so far, down 85 pounds, and I've been
Ooh.
keeping it steady, plus or minus 10 for 3 years now.
Wow.
It's
Good. That's the dream.
That's
Miles.
awesome. It's an everyday struggle, and hearing other people talk about going through the same things is comforting. You talking about the fear of letting people down was way too real. Losing a lot of weight has been something I'll never regret, but there's things that have come with it that I didn't know I'd be dealing with. So later on in the email, Miles asked, like, what was our fat awakening? But first off, Miles, let's go, baby.
Yeah, that was awesome.
One of the nicest people I know, like without a doubt. But what I was gonna say about Miles is we played on the same baseball team together, and like you're not so much into sports, but have you ever seen like a sports thing happen that you're even kind of like, whoa, like that was impressive?
Yeah.
That happened to me when I was 12 years old, and I watched Miles hit a baseball in my 12-year-old mind that I thought went 900 feet. This thing, it went foul, so it wasn't technically a home run. Miles used to hit a home run almost every other at bat, which was super dope for our team when we won a championship in Little League. He hit this ball, this one particular ball. He hit it left field, went foul. I'm not joking. This thing landed on the other baseball field and went that far. 12 years old, just a piss missile, like straight into the moon, man. It was amazing. And so, Miles, thank you so much. But what about you? When did you first realize you were fat?
Well, so I feel like it's kind of like what he said. It's one of those things where you grow up and you're thinking like, okay, like, yeah, I weigh more than other kids. Like, yeah, I'm bigger than the other kids. But I think a lot of the times when you're a kid, you just kind of internalize that as like, that's me. I'm just bigger than the other kids.
Exactly.
And you don't really have any sense of like ownership for like, oh, I am overweight. And, so
there's no problem connected to it when you're a kid at first.
Right. Yeah. Because like when you're a kid, it doesn't really matter until you start to get to that age where,
So when was the first time that you felt like I'm overweight and it's a problem?
In elementary school, there was, I was bullied.
Yep.
For being overweight. For some reason, one of the insults that just sticks out in my head was Chubby Cheese instead of Chuck E. Cheese.
Oh God,
And
that even gives me the shivers.
It's not even like that funny or
yeah,
clever,
no, it's a bad bit.
but it literally still stuck in my head to now. So thanks a lot for that. But yeah, no, it's okay. I'm fine.
Yeah, no. I'm over it. but you know, when I'm not joking, when the first time I knew I was big, because I kind of broke it down into the first time I knew I was big and the first time I knew I was fat. Because that's kind of, knowing when I was big, I was just like, yeah, I'm big. Like, cool, whatever. And the first time I knew I was big, it was at a 4th of July party. And there was like, we were taking a walk through like this cemetery that was right down the road.
Right.
And there was this big, like, it looked like a Civil War cannon. And like, kids are stupid. And so like, people thought that if we put enough weight on the cannon, it would fire. And all the parents were hammered. So they were just like, yeah, go give it a shot. I don't care. Yeah, whatever. I'm drinking. And so like a bunch of kids, like 7 kids are sitting on this thing and like all small kids. And then they're like, Seth, we need your 80 pounds. And I was like, I was 7 years old, like 85, 90 pounds. And I was like, oh, cool. Cause my big had utility there for something cool. You know what I mean? To like see if I could be the one to get this cannon to like fire off. So at that moment I was like, okay, well, this is fine. Shortly after that, I was at a doctor's appointment and my doctor was telling my mom like he's too big. And my mom's like, well, yeah, you know, and the doctor straight up told my mom, well, he can't eat what you don't feed him. He's 7. My poor mother, dude. He can't eat what you don't feed him. Oh. And then like just threw a fake microphone down. Like, dude, my poor mother, man. My mother is.
That's an awesome roast. I'm sorry to your mom.
Yeah, no, it's a top.
I like your mom, but that is an amazing
top
roast.
marks roast. And my mother, I'm biased. My mother is the greatest mother in the history of time. But like, it was so hearing that story back and kind of like remembering it a little bit. That's when I first like kind of was like, okay. My mom had to like institute serving sizes, but then the first time I knew I was like fat, like bad fat, like in the term like yeah, you're fat, was like 2nd grade. There was not one day of 2nd grade I didn't get bullied. I remember almost every single day of that school year vividly, the same 4 kids every day.
It was, for me, it was like 3 kids. Yep. And they also, like, this is a little window into this. So they were 3 kids. They all lived in my neighborhood growing up.
Okay.
And our neighborhood had like a community pool area.
Okay. Yeah.
And, you know, I would go down there, especially when I was younger. I would go down like all the time. I loved the water. My mom used to like say I was a fish.
Absolutely.
And like there was definitely a time probably around 5th, 6th grade where I kind of had my fat awakening. And between the bullying and feeling self-conscious about having my shirt off and all of that, I went from like going to the pool every single day during the summer to like refusing to go to the pool, even when my mom was like, no, let's go as a family. I'd be like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to sit in here and watch TV.
And it's tough because I think everybody who lives big or has grown up big has those couple of incidences burned into their brain that have carried to this day. Like, I never see you in water.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
and it still sticks because here's the thing, right? So like one of my incidences, like, which has greatly influenced how I react still today that I'm working to get over, was in that same year in 2nd grade, right? A kid's mom brought in cookies for the whole class.
Nice.
Right? So, and which is super dope. It was awesome. Pats won the Super Bowl that year.
I'm glad we got to be kids before they stopped allowing you to bring food into
exactly.
school.
Pats won the Super Bowl, so they were Super Bowl themed, like kind of Patriots cookies. And I just, oddly enough, I wasn't hungry. I didn't want one. Like, you know what? Like, just at that moment in time, I didn't want one. And the teacher out loud in front of everybody is like, oh, Seth, like, do you want like something else? Like, is it a diet thing? Like, do you not want to eat the cookie because you're on like a diet kind of thing? In front of the entire class. Dude, and like, I know it was said with good intentions, you know,
right?
What I mean?
But that's one of those things that, as a teacher, like,
I like still to this day, every now and again, I'll have a nightmare about that day, like, because I took shit for that thing alone for like a week and a half. It was the worst.
Well, yeah, and especially when you're dealing with kids, I mean, you do kind of have to be super aware, not just of like the intentions behind what you're saying, but the way that it comes off to the kid.
Exactly. And
I
so
mean, you should think about that for all people, but especially with children.
and so it was like, and so then of course, like right after that, I was like, why aren't you hungry, fatty? Like, aren't you always hungry? Like, you can always eat. And then at lunch, people would be like, I'm not going to finish this. Here you go. And like, people would just like kids would just like leave food in front of me. And then it's just like, okay, like what am I? And so most of the time, like,
no, my bullies weren't even generous enough.
yeah,
No.
but like, it was always as a dig.
Yeah,
like,
no, I
and
know.
so that honestly,
That sounds terrible.
It influenced how I ate still to this day. Like, I hate eating in front of people. Like, in front of camp people, we're good. Like, we're good, fam. Like, we are so fine. But it was terrifying. Like, I had to like mark out my bikes. I had to make sure that like everyone like if I would go get wings with my friends, I had to make sure that all my other friends would finish like a wing or two first before like I would really go in. Like, these are all
that was something that I always picked up was always trying to stay like one item of food behind the rest of the people at the table, just so that you're not like the worst.
And so like the way that Miles' email like impacted, you know what I mean, just those words, to not have to have that seed, because it's a seed that's planted in your mind when you're a kid.
Right.
Ideas are elevated when they're planted in your mind as a kid. So we have thought about our weight almost every hour of every day of our lives. I'm not joking. There has never really been a day
I would agree
or
with
a
that.
time where my weight hasn't somehow been on my mind.
Even if it's just in the back there.
The emotional baggage that comes with that blows. And then when you have people giving you shit for it externally, it just amplifies the speaker in your head, and it just sends you in the spiral. And guess what makes you feel better? Food. Like, yeah. So you're in this weird vicious cycle, and this seed is planted. And so Miles had his awakening later. Like, this was so interesting to me.
So he didn't have that seed planted.
Right. And so you could say that, like, I'm so happy that you didn't have to think about the things that we didn't, but you could also make an argument that the pressure is elevated because it's almost just like, I think of like a backloaded contract in sports, like when someone signs like one of those.
All right, you're gonna have to explain.
No,
this
no,
to me
and
like
I think math wise, I think I'm gonna be able to get this to you. So when contracts are signed by athletes for like these major money deals, right?
Okay.
They're mostly backloaded. Most of the money comes at the end of the contract.
Oh, okay. So somebody doesn't just stay for a year and then
well, not even that, but like in the prime years when they're still really at the top of their game, the team has more money to go get more players. So the back end has more money, like owed to the player, because they're kind of on their way out, and these billionaires have too much money. I apply that to like pressure. Like, imagine all of that pressure and all of like those feelings of having a fat awakening. Like, we were born into the game. We were molded by it. Like,
yeah, that's a very good point, because I feel like it's got to come as such a, almost like a hitting a brick wall when you kind of have that moment, because you're not really like prepared for that.
Exactly. And it's a very different two ends of the spectrum in terms of the pressure that comes, because you're an adult and your mind is developed, but it's still all coming at you 1,000 miles an hour that you're like, I didn't know I was going to have to deal with this. Like, I didn't know I was going to have to account for that factor or this factor, or worry about the clothes that I'm wearing at the time. Whereas you and I think a lot of other people too, who had their fat awakening really, really young, we had so many years. We had years and years to cope and find strategies and ways to mostly unhealthily cope.
Yeah,
but
food was my coping mechanism.
Yeah, but it was years of almost desensitizing.
It reminds me of that quote from Fat Bastard in Austin Powers, where he's like crying and he's like, "I'm unhappy because I eat, and I eat because I'm unhappy." It's a vicious circle.
That's exactly it, though. And to have so many years to kind of like, we almost built up, like, I almost look at our fat as battle armor. And
well, let me tell you something. Yeah. You are not going to take me down.
And bear with me, though. But like, I look at like our weight as battle armor, and battle scars too. Like, because we have there were a lot of years of getting shit kicked in your face. Like, those 4 kids who gave me shit, I ended up being friends with like later on. And like, I bet if they could look back,
like
and
actual friends, or just like,
yeah, like
no, we're cool guys, we're friends.
No, like people that I did hang out with, and people that I do somewhat keep in touch, and some people listening to the show, oddly enough.
Oh, really?
And who have sent really encouraging words about the show. And so like, I understand that like, if they could look back, they would just be like, oh man, I wish I didn't do that. But this is the problem. is that even though you can look back and go, yeah, I shouldn't have done that, that seed was still planted in my head. And it never went away, and it's still kind of there.
Yeah, and I do think that is a good point about, like, when it comes to things like that, like the kids that were doing that to you, they were just kids, and we can kind of keep that in mind while also recognizing, like, how it's affected you.
Yeah, because I think it's important to acknowledge how these things affected you, because, again, I mean, perfect that we plugged Live Texara's podcast.
You got to find the root.
You got to find those roots, baby. Like, you got to find the roots, and that's a root. Because that was an idea that was planted in my head.
I am root.
Yeah, right. But you have to acknowledge those roots, because guess what? Until you do, you're just going to kind of keep falling back into the same kind of cycles. And so, again, Miles, thank you so much for sending that email in, because that was fantastic. And I think that's a really good one. And for anyone out there who had their fat awakening and wants to just tell us your journey, please, like, send us an email. And I guess our advice, I mean, honestly, my one big takeaway, I don't know if you have a big takeaway with the advice here, is just to don't be afraid to look back on those moments for research purposes. Like, that's what I have to think. Like, I constantly have to look back to my fat awakening and confront the shit that stuck and write it down. And I need to understand that, like, that's something that directly affects me today. And how do I go about taking the right steps to change that for the future?
Yeah, my main takeaway from the story was your doctor was a savage. I can't get over it.
Mom, I love you so much. I'm so happy that you are my mother. Oh, man, I know. I really hope she doesn't get upset about that. But moving on.
Right. So
we're going into our last segment. And, folks, it's back. And this has just been a favorite. It's odd. This has been a favorite, obviously, amongst our camp friends, but amongst people outside of camp too.
I've been surprised by that.
We've got another Fat Camp Follies, folks. Ooh. And we are.
And this one's also a submission, by the way.
This is a submission. Who submitted this one?
This is submitted by our friend John.
John!
Slappy.
The unsung hero of episode 1, John. John.
He was my co-pilot in the Wawa runs.
He was your. John is my co-pilot.
Yeah.
Put that on a bumper sticker with a Wawa sandwich. But John actually gave us this idea when I was texting with him. And he was like, I really think that you guys should cover this. And he gave us his. And so the title of this Fat Camp Follies is called The Secret Stash. Now, the secret stash, John brought it up, is just plain and simple, the top hiding places for contraband and food as counselors when we were at camp.
Yeah, you can't let the kids know. If they get a whiff of what you have in your bag.
We said it before. It's like a season of True Detective, man. Like, they know. They always know. But
they'll sniff it out Scooby-Doo style.
Here's the thing. Having a stash and getting contraband back into camp is an art form. It's absolutely an art form.
Well, I think it might be a little bit easier as a counselor than you give it credit for.
You know, but here's the thing. Okay, getting it in is easy, but I'm talking about making sure that, like, you're not put on blast for it.
Oh yeah,
that's an art form. And so I broke it down into a couple segments. I broke it down into three main things. Right.
Okay.
Picking the right spot, obviously.
Right.
Picking the right food.
That is a very important
number
aspect.
2. And then 3 is just your overall spot. Like, what's your spot? So, but I mean, I kind of want to hear your opening take. Like, what were your feelings about having a secret stash? And your approach.
I mean, you definitely needed to have. I mean, I needed to have a secret stash. I wasn't going to go without.
Yeah, no, I think it's a must for counselors.
Yeah, especially when you have an unhealthy relationship with food and you're not serious about putting yourself on the right track.
Right, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no,
I want to lose weight, I said before, every summer.
Yeah, right on. Yeah.
But, yeah, no, my go-to place, I changed it up a lot. Usually, I kind of kept food that I had in my bag.
Okay.
And I really tried to keep it. I had a drawstring bag that I would keep on my bag. And whether it was like candy or chips or something like that.
You always had it on you.
I would try to keep it. Yeah, because it's always a very hard game when you have a stash in the bunk. Because the kids are in the bunk more than you are.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And especially depending on the age of the kids, some of the kids spend all their free time in the bunk.
Right.
So you got to be very careful. And kids, they're sneaky. They like to get in your stuff. They like to look around.
Yeah, which is natural. I mean, that's just kind of kid shit.
They think you're cool. They want to see what kind of stuff you have. And so you know, you got to keep it locked down, and keeping it on your person is the easiest way to do that for me.
So that's a very interesting approach. Yeah, no, that's good. Because I never even, honestly, I never did that. I never kept it like
Really?
on.
You kept a bag on you all the time,
I
too.
kept a bag on me, but I never kept my food on me, which was weird. Like, because now that you say it, I'm like, oh yeah, I probably should have done more of that. Like, I always had gum on me. Don't get me wrong.
It was like a revelation that I had later on in my counselor career, because I was like, oh, the kids had found my chips. What do I do about this?
Right. So for me, right, when I broke it down into these three things, it's obviously first pick the right spot, because obviously, like you said, like the campers are full on detectives. You got to pick a spot that doesn't require too many moves, because you got to think about your time in the bunk that you would have to extract the goods.
Yeah, you got to be very quick,
you got
in and out.
You got to Ocean's 13 that shit quick, and so not too many moves. Like, it can't be a too lengthy of a process. It can't be too loud.
Oh yeah.
Like, the bag can't crinkle too much, or you have to like operation. Like, you have to really kind of precision that. And so those were the two big factors in picking a spot, right? Picking the right food. It's the mountains of Pennsylvania in the dog days of summer. It's hot, dog. It is hot in those bunks. It is roasting. There's no AC. Like, you have your fan.
Tin roofs.
It's so hot in there that so much food is going to melt. You have to pick a food that's not going to melt. I once had those Butterfinger bites as a junior counselor in my bunk. I picked up the bag and it was Butterfinger soup, dog. Like, it was
you don't even have to open it at that point.
Exactly. And you know what?
I
got a spoon from the dining hall.
You gotta do what you gotta do. You're not gonna throw away perfectly good chocolate sauce.
I put it back in the spot, and I was like, I'll just, like, instead of thinking like a normal person, like, I'll just go throw this out in a different trash can, I thought, no, Seth, we're not letting it go to waste.
No man left behind.
Get the spoon and let's get to eating. And so you have to rethink those things. Like, you got to go with chips or pretzels. So getting into the spots, right? Getting into spots. John's spot, genius. So John, thank you again. John used to hide his contraband under his dirty laundry. So he would have his dirty laundry.
That's gross.
He would have his dirty.
But I can't judge.
Exactly. So he would have his dirty laundry like in a suitcase, and then when laundry day came around, he would just transfer it to the laundry bag, right?
Okay.
So he would have it in a suitcase, and he would just keep all his contraband under the dirty laundry in the suitcase. That is genius.
That is genius.
No one's gonna go through your.
But like.
Yeah, it's rough,
My
man.
clothes would have smelled up whatever food was
it's
there.
really bad. So like you have to kind of double secure the contraband almost. Like, you kind of have to put it like in another bag, or like in
like a Ziploc or something.
Yeah, or like
to keep it fresh.
another plastic bag, and then tie it off, and then throw it in the suitcase and throw the dirty laundry under it. A really funny story is our JC summer. As you remember, I was dating my girlfriend in high school at the time throughout the entire summer, and so a package comes one day from my girlfriend at the time and her mother, who is one of my favorite people. She's a blessing. And this package is duct taped over in multicolored duct tape. I want to say like 2 full rolls of duct tape. I'm like, what is in this shoebox, right? And as counselors, they didn't check our packages. And,
oh, really?
Right,
oh, yeah.
So they even as JCs, that year they didn't check our packages. So I get the shoebox. I go back, and I'm trying to open it discreetly, because you just never know, and I didn't want my kids to see anything inappropriate or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, you never know, and I didn't know this package was coming. So I open it up, and then there's a layer of aluminum foil, like, in this shoebox. And I'm like, I lift up the foil. It is, I want to say, 16 fudge cupcakes.
Ooh.
Like chocolate frosted fudge cupcakes that her and her mother rigged, and a letter that really picked me up at the time, because like that was like a rough summer. Being a JC is so rough. Yeah. And so and a really good letter, and like 16 cupcakes. And I remember immediately closing the box like I was stashing a pile of porn. Like I just closed it immediately, and I'm looking around, and I knew that it was going to be way too hot in the bunk. I knew it was going to be way too hot in the bunk, right? Way too hot in the bunk. It's dinner time is happening. Like, dinner lineup is about to happen. And everyone's getting out of the bunk. And I remember going to my co-counselor and saying, hey, I'm really not feeling well. Can I just skip dinner? He's like, yeah, man, sure. Like, no worries. He was the homie. Like, he was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I sat there and I ate 16 cupcakes.
Nice.
Because I was like, I can't let these go to waste, man. I ate 16 whole cupcakes. But my other big hiding spots were my boxer drawer in my plastic shelves that would fit in the covey. So I would like put them in the back, or I would I also one time put Reese's Pieces in an empty Advil bottle.
That's wonderful.
Reese's Pieces in the Advil bottle.
So there are a couple of other spots that I remember using. So number one, having a car on camp, huge get.
Clutch.
Huge get.
That's like having your own safe.
But you might remember this story about when this totally backfired on me. Because it was probably 4 or 5 idiot moves just like completely strung together.
Yeah, you went full idiot on this.
I went full idiot. So just to set the scene, so I had gone out the night before. I had my car. I parked my car at the front of the parking lot right across from where the office is. And I had a box of Pop-Tarts. Because I really loved those red, white, and blue, like the fireworks Pop-Tarts that they come out with at the 4th of July. And so I had a box of Pop-Tarts just sitting in my back seat. And I had forgotten about the Pop-Tarts the night when I had pulled up to the front of the office. Right. So I just left them sitting right on the seat. What I also didn't know was I had left my windows down. Now, luckily, it didn't rain.
I forgot that. I forgot this part.
I had left my windows down. And that was stupid move number 2. Right.
Naturally.
And so one of the owners of the camp is like walking by. They're going to have like visitors visit camp that day. And he's like looking at the parking lot and he sees the Pop-Tarts sitting out in my car. And
with the windows
down. And the car was locked. So he wanted to go in to get the Pop-Tarts so that they couldn't, no parents coming in could see the Pop-Tarts, right? Well, he reaches into my window and unlocks my car and boom, the alarm goes off.
Of course it does.
I got called up because now they're like, your alarm's going off. We need you to come up and turn off your alarm. But here's where the worst decision.
Oh, it gets worse.
Yeah,
okay,
here the worst part is one of our friends had the day off that day, and he was feeling really down because he didn't really have a bunch of friends on his day off to hang out with.
Right.
He asked if he could just borrow my car for first period to go get some coffee and come right back. And over time, I've stopped letting people borrow my car, but back then
at camp it's a pretty lenient kind of thing. Yeah.
So I let him borrow my keys. I get called off to the office, and I'm confused. I'm like, my car, like, shouldn't he have my car? Well, it turns out he was going to take my car, and then somebody else offered him a ride. So he has my keys.
Oh, no.
And he is off camp.
Oh, my God.
While my alarm is going off.
I forgot so much about this story. Jesus.
While my alarm is going off.
And you don't have your keys.
And I'm looking at our boss. I'm like, like, I don't know what you, like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I'm really, really sorry. But I can't really do anything about this right now.
Here's the thing, though, is that I don't even think you needed to apologize, because what kind of psychopath reaches into your window and unlocks your locked car?
Yeah, I guess I would give him the benefit of the doubt there because, I mean, I had Pop-Tarts sitting
that's
right
fair.
out.
Okay, you know what?
Like any kid walking through the parking lot to go to the big
mistrial.
Gym could have reached right in and grabbed a Pop-Tart out of there. So I really feel like at that point that was all on me.
Yeah, that would have been pretty gangster for any camper. That was like, I got these out of Strawberry's car. What of it?
And then the other hiding spot that I really liked that I didn't really start using until my last summer there, and you weren't even there for this.
Yeah, this was 2018.
This stash was somewhere where it's so obvious no one would ever think about it. The field house.
Ooh, yeah.
Now, for those of you who aren't Fat Camp regulars, the field house is kind of where the heads of the boys' camp live, and that's where the group leaders go and have like meetings and stuff like that. And it's where we hand out snack.
Yeah.
And the last summer I was there, they had really cut down on the amount of snacks. So we used to have so many extra snacks.
Yeah.
But now it was really like they didn't have too many. And
they really kind of tallied it out.
And then they would come back at the end and pick up the extra snacks.
Interesting. Okay.
And we were so used to like, oh, we get all the extra snacks back here for the group leaders. Like, haha.
Yeah.
Like we can eat as many Pop Chips as we want.
Exactly.
And you can't do anything about it. But then they started to collect them afterwards. And we're like, oh, God. So I would always volunteer to hand out snack. And then before they came to pick up the leftovers, I would stash like 7 or 8 of them somewhere in the field house. I won't give my location here, but somewhere that's like so well hidden, but so like in plain sight that no one would ever get it.
So do you think right now, at this moment in time, in that spot that you picked that you are not disclosing, do you think there are still snacks?
No, I ate them all.
Oh yeah.
That was cute.
You ate everything as well. I thought maybe like towards the end you might have like left one or two as a memento.
Nope.
No. Oh, that's awesome. But man, I'm telling you, it is an art form. It's an art form to not get put on blast there.
And you know what? I gotta credit it to my mom, because you know what? Putting that lock on the
Yeah,
fridge
our-
when I was
our
a kid
parents made
really
us
made me
sneaky.
sneakier.
But it's so funny because contraband is just part of camp. It makes camp a little more fun when you're breaking a couple of the rules. You
It
know what I
really
mean?
is.
And so John, we know you're out there. You listen to every episode and you let us know what you
Thanks,
think
buddy.
of everyone, and we miss you, buddy. And so thank you so much for sending that, and thank everyone for submitting to this episode. And we hope that we get more submissions. We love doing submission type of stuff. I mean, this was a blast today. But we're gonna go into closing thoughts, and you know what? It's beautiful out. I'm back in the office. You're about to have your first summer off since you were 15 years old, man. That's wild. And granted,
I'm so excited.
I wish it was under better circumstances, but the main thing is that we're hitting milestones and we're getting better each and every day.
Yeah,
I think that's the big thing.
I think it is too.
You know what I mean? And I'm looking forward to we're going to look so handsome, dude.
I'm just excited. We got a wedding coming up in about 10 months, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to be able to like actually get nice clothes that like aren't like super
That you
super
can flex
fat
in.
size.
Yeah, we're gonna flex at this wedding, dude. It's gonna be so dope. But guess what, folks? Even though we're gonna flex 10 months from now, we're gonna flex a little bit right now. Until next time, I'm Seth,
And I'm Strawberry.
and this is Sorry for the Wait.